planet is in trouble.
We are so close to the red line that perhaps we may wake up tomorrow and find that there's nothing to save after all.
The issue of livestock and meat is not only a diet issue, it is an environmental issue.
The destruction of the environment by using large areas of land to feed cattle or pigs is actually taking up an awful lot of land that could be used to produce far more protein if it was vegetable protein. Making animal protein is wasteful.
It is creating a lot of greenhouse gas emissions.
50% of our national greenhouse gas emissions come from the agricultural sector, primarily in the form of methane.
The United Nations in particular, but also other organizations, have encouraged people to give up meat.
Unless we change our food choices, nothing else matters, because it is meat that is destroying most of our forests. It's meat that pollutes the waters. It is meat that is creating disease, which leads to all our money being diverted to hospitals. So it's the first choice for anybody who wants to save the earth.
It will, of course, mean new kinds of consumer behavior and lifestyles. And all of us, government, business, civil society, individuals, all of us have a major part to play. I have no doubt that this is a challenge to which we can all rise.
The earth we leave for our children must be safeguarded. Let us choose hope, founded on humanitarian values. Let us be determined to place mankind at the heart of our priorities.
Be veg, go green, save the planet.
The Humane Society of the United States says swine flu viruses are on an evolutionary fast track. They say pigs are forced into tiny cages and unable to even turn around. It's so stressful on the animals that their immune systems cannot fight infection. A 2-year study by the prestigious Pew Commission on the impact of factory farms came out this time last year. It concluded that factory farms pose unacceptable risks to the environment, animal welfare, and public health.
Bird flu experts say this breeding ground for disease, known as the factory farm, may provide the perfect environment for a harmless virus to mutate into a deadly virus.
The recent outbreak of Pfiesteria, a microorganism 1,000 times more potent than cyanide, spawned from millions of gallons of raw hog feces and urine poured into rivers, lakes, and oceans, turning their ecosystems into unflushed toilets, is proving the most alarming. Threatening sea life and humans alike, Pfiesteria has killed over 1 billion fish, the Southeast's largest fish kill on record, and it's spreading. This water-based Pfiesteria invasion stands as one of the worst outbreaks of a virulent microorganism in U.S. history. It is a level 3 biohazard. Ebola is a 4. AIDS is a 2. And this bug mutated as a direct result of our mass consumption of animals. Grain goes in and waste comes out. This waste finds its way into our oceans and water supply systems, contaminating the animals that live in it, as well as those who eat from it.
And some of the larger meat processors and grinders in this country are unconscionable and border on the criminal.
The thing that's really important that Anthony said is that there's a certain kind of meat, which is produced on factory farms, that is in every single way unconscionable. It's unconscionable to feed to our children because of the health. It's unconscionable because it's the single worst thing we can do to the environment by a long shot. And it's unconscionable because of what we're doing to animals who are raised on factory farms. What Anthony didn't say, and I wish he had, is that 99%, upwards of 99%, of the animals that are raised for meat in this country come from factory farms. So when we're talking about meat, when we're talking about the meat that they sell in grocery stores, when we're talking about the meat that we order in restaurants, we are effectively talking about factory farms.
Those practices, if you read the Times article that came out recently on this most recent E. coli outbreak, it's truly terrifying. And the stuff they're putting in these burgers would not be recognized by any American as meat.
Yes, hello, Larry.
Go ahead.
How are you?
What's the question?
Question is, isn't the leading source of E. coli over the last 5 years been through agriculture, leafy vegetables, red peppers, and even peanut butter?
Is that true, Nancy?
There have been some studies that have reported outbreaks, and there have been some recalls with regards to E. coli contamination of lettuce and vegetables, and yes, even peanut butter.
Well, Nancy, though, surely you know that the CDC has said all of those, the primary source was animal agriculture. It may be true that the vehicle was spinach, but if we're wondering where E. coli, and we know where E. coli comes from, right? It comes from poop. It's not coming from the spinach. It's all coming from runoff from factory farms.
I wouldn't argue with that. I would say that, again, that's pretty much outside of the realm of my expertise.
Because one of the things that a plant-based diet does that's not generally known, we can cure heart disease now.
Well, Paul, very simply, the message is that we are learning more and more about how diet influences the risk of cancer. And this is one more bit of evidence that says if you eat a lot of red meat or a lot of animal fat, you are at increased risk of getting cancer.
On the bones of nervous cattle, many of them drenched in their own urine and feces. It's an image workers here did not want us to record.
We can't have everybody filming at all.
American beef producers are nervous themselves these days. Grisly images of sick cows being abused and dragged through their own manure forced this plant to shut down in February and recall 65 million kilograms of meat, the largest beef recall in U.S. history.
They're walking around in manure.
U.S. Government Beef Inspector Trent Burhow says the lack of safety and health standards in slaughterhouses would shock consumers.
None of us really know how safe the meat supply is.
How many people are going to have to get sick and or die before the government steps it up in regard to consumer safety protection?
Now, a leading authority on global warming says we need to turn vegetarian if we're to save the planet. According to the UN, turning vegetarian would have a major environmental impact. Meat production is responsible for 18% of global carbon emissions. That's more than the transport industry.
But if one were to eat a cheeseburger now, it would probably taste good for that moment. But from that point on, you only get the adverse effects of that cheeseburger.
Don't eat it. Throw it out.
What happens on your plate represents your most important engagement with the natural world and the biggest impact you have on climate change.